this was a big question, right? And I'm sure you've had a good look at the model answer and use that to mine that for great ideas of things to say. It gives you a good idea of what the marker was looking for in a really explicit way. But in this video, I kind of want to step back a little bit, and I want to use this question as a tool for answering the bigger question, how do we deal with this kind of thing on an exam when we're given a really complex question with lots of stimulus and we're asked a question that's at that really high level. So assess is a very high level key verb in the HSC. Well, let's unpack that key verb. So to assess is more than just to describe, and it's even more than just to explain at a low level. It's to think about what all the points are and evaluate the points. What's the weight of those points? What's the weight of the evidence of those points for and against? And ultimately what you need to do is make a judgment. In this case, you've got to come off the fence and you've got to say, well, what is the value? To what extent could large data sets like these aerial photographs be of value in doing the thing that we're trying to do? And this is where it's worth taking that extra little bit of time, back in your reading time and now when you engage with the question again, to get out that highlighter and work out what is it that we're trying to do here. So it's multi-step in this question. Assess is the key verb. What are we assessing? We're assessing the value of something. What's the thing we're assessing the value of? Using large data sets like these aerial photographs. To do what? What are we using these large data sets to do that we're going to assess the value of? Well, to create innovative ways of managing the natural environment in the context of this whole, sandy desert question. So it's really worthwhile getting a highlighter out and going, I'm assessing the value. What am I assessing the value of? Using large data sets like these photos to do what? To create innovative ways of managing the environment. One possible technique that you can use is the peel structure, and you've probably been shown that structure in some of your humanities. I'm kind of a bit hesitant to promote it here if it's going to lead to you writing big, long, verbose essays. So you've got to kind of be able to put aside, you're not writing essays in science, we kind of want you to get straight to the material. Don't waste time rephrasing the question. And so when we go through these 4 points, these could be dot points. It could be just a sequence of what you're looking for. So first of all, what's your point that you're going to evaluate? What's the evidence for that? How does it link to the stimulus material? What do you already know about that from investigating science, and bringing as much of that science in to that evidence and that explanation of that evidence? Because you've got this lovely wealth of knowledge about the process of science. We want to see that in the explanation of the evidence for this point. And then you need to link it ultimately to the overall judgment that you're going to make. But keep it concise. Dot points, sketches, diagrams can be ways of doing those 4 parts of the peel structure without it all being big, long sentences. So the last thing I want to help you with is, how do you come up with the ideas of what you're going to say and how you're going to evaluate them in the first place? So obviously, you're going to put your pen down and you're going to spend some time reading the stimulus. Can't emphasize that enough. And use your exam reading time to actually read, not to try and memorize answers to some of the multiple choice questions. But let me give you this idea that you can bring multiple lenses to lots of different exam questions, and that will give you not only an idea of things you can write about, but also the measurement, the rubric against which you can evaluate them, especially on an assess question. So on an assess question, you can use something like the environmental lens. To what extent, what's the environmental impact of this? Well, the stimulus shows you the environmental outcomes have been quite good. We're creating these cultural fires as increased biodiversity in those areas. And so that's both something to talk about and also how you would evaluate the weight of that. The second one you can bring is the cultural lens. So indigenous cultural knowledge and respect for that runs right through all of the science courses. So let's bring that lens to this. Well, it is honouring and respecting cultural knowledge by incorporating it, sure, in innovative and new kind of ways, using these record of photographs, but it is promoting cultural values and it is supporting traditional practices, albeit done in a new and innovative kind of way. And the last one is the technological lens. You can bring this to kind of most questions when you can look at how does this data collection method compare with other methods? What are the advantages and what are the disadvantages? What are the limitations of this method? What are the limitations of the other methods that maybe can't go back in time in the way that this one can? So by using those 3 lenses, you can come up with a bunch of things that you want to say, as well as how you're going to evaluate those different points.